For two.
local match, which would be 25% of 8, which is 2.
But that wasn't communicated to us until that came in, correct? Until we
You
got, I mean,
I think they just got it.
We
you just got it, okay.
We just saw
Okay.
this.
Yeah, I just wanted,
Cause it wasn't mentioned to us when it was presented to us last week, that's why I'm
This just
asking.
Yeah.
happened yesterday?
So the net
Yeah,
ask
yesterday.
is gonna go down quite a bit for just the first 3 years, and then it pops back up with the grants.
Mhm. And that's normally where you either absorb it or you have to lay those people off.
Or you're gonna lose them through attrition. You're gonna lose people through attrition.
Exactly, you
and-
either absorb them or you let them go,
Mhm.
yeah.
so I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't in addition to the 6 you guys were asking.
Nope, only 2 are in addition.
Are those gonna be the 2 addition, we talked about schools for the,
To be
Dairy.
perfectly honest with you, Tony,
Resource officers,
I've not seen what
Okay.
the requirements are, so
Okay.
I'm not sure where they have to be put.
okay. All right,
That's it. Do you guys have any questions, any concerns about the, okay.
The only thing I want to point out is the current spending rate
Oh, yeah.
on, you know, the current, what you've appropriated for this year is 13,506,929, again, for personnel, salaries and benefits. And they are spending at a rate in excess of that. In other words, that money won't last them. If you took the 13,506, you divide it by 12 to get per month, you multiply it by 5. Through the end of May, they should have spent 5.6 million, they're up to 5.8. So that's just.
$200,000.
But given that the real increase wasn't that much compared to 19, that's kind of understandable, but that's something they need to be coming.
but here's the question, Joe, for 2021, how much of an increase did they get? They should have got the additional 700 and some thousand, they should have got for the full year of the extra 15, it would have been $1 million. And then they would have got 1.5% increase. That should be in for this year's budget. Did you find that? 21, I don't see,
I don't
you
see
did
it.
18, 19, 20.
Or 19, I did more 19, 20, and then I did 20 to 21. The $700,000. So this, go back, oh yeah. So this analysis is including funds 0001 and 0002. So it's the sales tax and the general fund, zero. So that $700,000 is not gonna show because we're losing that sales tax. So you're essentially bringing that up into the general fund. So it's not.
But it should still show in their budgeted amount, because all of their money, for the most part, other than some grants,
It
whatever
is
it comes
showing,
from.
it is showing in the budget amount of 13.4.
Okay,
Because this is including the sales tax fund and the general fund.
so if there's transfers in, what's the transfers out? 2020.
Go down here.
Yeah,
If you were just looking at
So-
general fund from 20 to 21, yes, you would see a $700,000 increase.
Yeah.
no, but I'm looking at the GF line, I'm looking at salary lines, that's where that money would be at. If you looked at salary lines from 18, 19, 20, 21, you will see the increases, because that's where it's put at, in the salary lines. Not, you can't look at the bottom line from each budget, because it's too fluid in your department.
Right.
Well, and that's what this is, though. The only other thing in it that's not directly related to salaries are the benefits. So it's salaries, Medicare, PRS, workers'
But
comp.
when we budget or we plan for increases, and again, we give them the money, they can do it. We can say, they tell us they need $1 million for 15, if they take that $1 million and only hire 13, that's on the sheriff, that's not us. We don't fund positions, we fund, the amount of funds it takes to staff, and they direct as to how they wanna staff it.
So to your question, answering your question, if it's included in the original 2021 budget, I don't know, there's really no documentation. I don't know what all went in there. I don't know what all the increase is at.
The breakdown for it.
Yeah.
The only place you could see it was probably be in the salary lines, because that's where it would have had to have gone, is in the salary lines,
Yeah,
in the
so I
GF
did,
for
so
the salaries.
I did do that, and then I noticed the difference is the $700,000. which is that, sales tax combining general fund. So that is included in the budget, in 2021 budget. So your question for the or breakdown, transfers in and out, all it is just reallocations of the compensation budget for these three.
Okay.
So it nets down to only $85,000, which is for sick leave conversion and retirement payoff.
Mhm.
It's just, mean is just to show everything in transfer and transfer. That's what that is.
So now, what were you saying, Dave, as far as their spending pattern now?
Well, I mean, the thing I wanted to point out, if you're looking at this, remember the sheet that we were looking at
It's on the second.
originally, that you and I developed?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
now, the only thing I changed on this is, when we did it originally, we didn't include Fund 0002, which you really have to have in there, because that was spending in the sheriff's department in earlier years. So when you put that in there, here, let me show you what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because I'm looking at
Well, you're looking at
19.
Well, here, so, when you, this is what they were appropriated this year, 13.5. They were appropriated this much in 20, it's not that much less than this, so when we talk about
Mhm.
giving extra money, it's not reflected in this.
Okay.
See?
But what I'm saying is, if you look at 19, from 19 to 21, their salary, their original amount has increased just shy of 2 million though. We
Well,
started at 11.8,
For the appropriation,
yes,
yeah.
and 13.3, and then we go to 13.5, so,
Yeah. The big jump was from 19 to 20 though, it wasn't from 20 to 21.
yeah.
Which is all, that's prior to the current sheriff.
Any questions?
So,
Did this kind of clarify a little bit of where the extra money went?
no.
Okay. What is it exactly that you're wondering what happened?
Because they're asking for another million for 13 more, so, but the numbers of staffing do not reflect that they are even up to what we had funded previously, so,
Not, I mean, not arguing or anything, but can you go to CO, 2019 support? So these are all the correction officers that were hired from April 2019 down to November 2019.
Yeah.
There's 14 of them. Because were you saying last week that they were approved to hire 14 more people with that $500,000?
6 people left during that time period, so we really had a net gain of 8.
See, okay.
But
yeah.
you're saying the money
And
went
that's
for
fair.
those 14 COs?
Yes, and yes. From what I the information I got is what I thought.
Yeah.
So
So,
so
of
what
us-
spent on what they said they were gonna spend it on?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the previous administration spent it on what they were supposed to spend it on, it's just with the fluidity of changeover and stuff, it's reduced it down, which then doesn't make sense. Where's the money at that we're being asked to fund an additional, 13? Because in my mind, if you don't have the number that we the full number that we funded 2 years ago, then there should be less money needed to bring on additional. But that's not the case, so that's why I'm confused.
Yeah, that's, it's not the case, because you started to ask, and I was gonna explain again, they're spending more this year, they're gonna run out of money, if they don't change anything.
An average of 14. That's
We
not-
knew that though.
Yeah.
I mean, at the first meeting.
Yeah, they said
chief-
that.
The chief
Yeah.
asked and they said, yes, you'll be out of money by October.
Right, so,
So we did know that.
But what are they spending the extra money on?
well, you could, there's a report, I don't know if this is in the packet, I ran a report through May, the same kind of report, but just through May, and I don't know if, I'll give you my copy if you don't have that in your packet.
No, we don't.
Not to sidetrack you from this, but go back to your question, the ask for additional 13 goes to staffing considerations based on the layout of the jail itself.
In opening
Because that
wing
pod
has
is
been
not
shut.
open.
The pod,
Yeah, I think you gotta-
the pod's not open, and we
Yeah.
can't open the pod.
Yeah, but I will go back to our original conversation with the former sheriff, when we were asked how many staff it would take to fully operate the additional staff needed for the new pod and the rest of the facility, we were told 15. So that's,
And-
Not a
and
true
we've all talked about that
yeah.
ad nauseum, as far as I'm concerned. That,
Shows you.
you know, I think the chief said that the best is.
Oh,
we were-
hold on,
Yeah.
Kenny, please.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just showing you the year-to-date. So you can go through here and see what has changed. This is 21 versus 20. So you can see where they're spending additional money, but also saving money, like Sheriff's Administration, they're saving on health benefits, because that is one of the changes they said they were doing. But down here, you get the corrections, their part-time is down, but their overtime is way up. So you can actually reconcile the number, the overage, which is, see, the problem is the net overage. The overage in the general fund thus far this year is like $500,000, 511. If you net out all the things that are no longer being spent, the overall change is 229,000 more for the year. So that just gives you an idea. That's another way of looking at it, so if you want to keep that.
Yeah, I do remember that meeting saying that we would need less, but I really think they weren't taking into consideration the way our jail is built or something.
Yeah, well, and that's why we went with the sheriff and Dale's recommendation of 15 versus 3 to 5. Because, you know, the architect kept telling us 3 to 5, but then the sheriff and his chief deputy said there's no way. We would need an additional 15. So,
And in all reality, if you look at the way that jail's structured,
yeah.
it is the worst design in the world. And there is no way that you can run that jail with the and open up a whole new pod with the staffing levels that we're at. We can't open it because staffing levels are so bad that the state's gonna come in and they're gonna shut it down.
That's what I was gonna ask you, is the state's mandate, it's not
It's the
your-
state mandate, it's not our mandate.
Yeah.
The state says that we have to have minimum standards in staffing, minimum standards in staffing. And
What are
opening that.
those?
See, it depends on the structure of the
Do
jail.
you know what they are? Hold on, Dave. Do you know what those are? I
If you're
mean,
speaking,
Brian?
yeah, if you're speaking directly to the staffing plan, actually, I do have,
You have a book that you can give her to read, don't
I
you?
I can give her this. and then- This, I just, can I show you this?
Right.
This is the breakdown of what
Okay.
we're trying to meet, and it's, I highlighted the two bottom ones, because basically, you have to submit a plan that shows that you as an administrator are planning to cover for all the activities that take place in a jail.
This comes from the Ohio.
Ohio Revised Code, that's directly from the code of what they,
You don't make a lot.
I don't, see, I have, obviously I have, I don't have.
Got it.
I'm only
See, it
hired-
never gives you numbers.
No.
The plan is shown on.
because
Yeah, so it's
It's
just
not
like
gonna-
the
yeah.
former sheriff said, they don't give you numbers.
set
It's
numbers.
really up to the discretion of the sheriff.
and it has to be something that you're comfortable defending. Because if you bring BAD in, and you guys have all toured and seen the jail, and you are saying, well, I'm gonna use this officer to work A, but I'm also gonna have them work E, they're gonna say, no way.
Okay.
Also, I'm not-
They're
I'm
gonna
not
look at a staffing
necessarily
plan and say,
asking for more
show me
resources.
who's doing what function,
So we're
where's
not
their
necessarily
backup,
remote committee.
and where's the relief factor for if they have a day off.
Because of the shape of the jail, the backup.
The
can't-
overall layout.
Can't get that close.
You just, you
I
you
can't be
can't, you can't put all 300 in one block that you can just kind of condense them down, because they're all broken, these pockets, and laid out pretty,
Yeah.
you know, the footprint of that jail is pretty big.
Yeah.
As compared to other jails where they build up, and maybe a little bit different layout, ours is pretty sprawled out.
I also remember that's why
Which
we
is-
did a swing pod on the news section, was
Mhm.
because if it's shifted from having an overage of females to back
And right now it's
males,
swinging with
we
males.
we had the flexibility
Yeah.
to be able to switch it.
And luckily we did, because right now it is swinging to males. When we were doing it before, we planned on it all female. Right now I got males in it.
And from a real, from a liability standpoint, if we have a critical incident in that jail and BAD comes in and says, well, the reason you have this critical incident is you're understaffed. You don't have the staffing to deal with, all these different equations that could come out of the jail operation. And at that point, then, we're sitting on some serious liability, for not complying with jail standards.
But all the years we've had the jail, have we ever had anything come out of staffing?
Oh, yes.
I mean, as far as staffing standards?
I mean,
Look at the lawsuits.
I was gonna say, just look at the lawsuits and litigations, and I hate to bring it up because I don't wanna see it again, but when we were operating, understaffing's been an issue for you guys, I'm sure, before my time. I've been doing this about a year for this jail. But when we tried to operate without the staff, this county saw records in the nation. We had 6 in-custody deaths in less than a year. We had, if some of you remember the early on of Doak's first term. And a lot of that contributed to running it with less staff, if there's nobody to watch. We set trends in the entire country during that time frame because we didn't have the staff to properly supervise what was going on. I don't want to be in the position I'm in trying to explain that now that we have the ability to make appropriate decisions for the safety of the inmates that are there and the officers that work there. And you just have to make the decisions at the higher level that say we're going to staff it appropriately. Things could happen, yes, but at least then you have a solid ground that say, yes, bad things can happen, but we've staffed it in the best plan that we could to prepare and deal with those circumstances as they come up. And that's what it takes from leaders, as far as I'm concerned, to put it together for.
But that's a risk that every jail takes.
It's a
Would you
risk
not
we all
say that?
have, but that risk is there. We can
You mitigate
minimize.
some of it.
We
I
can
mean,
mitigate
it's-
some of our liability to it by saying we
Yeah.
followed a plan and put as many people in the right positions and where we thought we could do the most efficient ways to do it. But it still comes down to numbers, and we added 66%, I think we figured it out, when we added 140 some beds with the expansion. And all of these numbers before that are all talking about something before we had 142 beds. So now we have an additional 142 beds with that expansion project, but we gotta staff it. I know for everybody that's seen it, not just you guys, but public can come in, I offer the same challenge to anybody that tours, and I may have said it to you guys when you've seen it. Show me somebody that we don't need. Everybody saw the staff working there with roller skates on, trying to wear 2 and 3 hats to get the job done. But that's what it boils down to. So you gotta staff it. You gotta have the plan to put the people on the floor.
So how many staff do you have back there at any given time for the new pod? In the control center, the rovers,
Right now, there's 2 working that new pod.
only 2 staff
There's
at
one
any
running-
given time?
In that, you're talking about E-wing, there's 2 assigned from a staffing perspective to deal with the inmates in E. There's 1 doing master control, which,
Okay.
in an ideal world, you'd need more, you've seen that master
I
control board.
cringe when I
You
see
cringe
that.
trying to think that one person's trying to juggle all that.
So-
But if you put one of the other ones in master, now you got the other one. So you got all of that horseshoe of that part. There's 2 down there dealing with all of those inmates. yes.
I saw one day, and sheriff was with me and a couple other people, that one female CO was in one of those pods with 24, 34, or whatever guys. And I was surprised because there's broom handles, there's mop handles sticking around, and those are
Those are
weapons in my
dryers.
book. The problem is I asked the sheriff, how long does it take you to get to her with all your great swing it, slide the gates, or whatever? And he said about 3.5 to 4 minutes.
Well, because we'd have to to get down to response, somebody
Yeah.
also is watching 48 inmates somewhere else.
Right.
So they're gonna have to get them put away to come down and help the one that's dealing.
You know, this conversation, Joe, thank you. I mean, that hopefully, you know, Commissioner Bennett, that answered her questions where that $1 million is. I hate cringing when I see police officers and COs in situations that I could help or be a part of. I believe they need those 14 people, and I think they needed them yesterday versus in 6 months or a year. I would love to see this happen, like now.
I agree.
Well, we'll see where the money's at. Yep. Okay, well, thank you. I don't have any further questions for you.
No, the only question is that we need to pass that sales tax levy on this year. So we have put ourselves in a position that, you know, on one hand, talk about not looking back, but we keep looking back and we putting the onus on the 2 people, or the group of men and women that are there now. That's wrong. We can't keep doing it. And by us saying as a county, by us even thinking as a county, that because we did it that way and that's what they said, and we've all come to the conclusion that many of those things may not be exactly what they represented at the time you guys, I wasn't here, what you guys were told know now that they may not have been exactly what we needed. And by and we have blasted the sheriff, we have blasted the chief deputy, and everybody else over there, saying that it wasn't like this before, and I'm really tired of it. It wasn't like this before.
I've never heard that.
I hear it all the time.
I haven't, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I hear it all the time, Commissioner. It says, we have an issue, they've identified it, they have gone out of their way above and beyond anybody I've ever seen to prove that they have an issue. And we keep saying, no, you don't. That's not the way it was, that's not what we have been told. So by not doing it, and I've been a little Marine someplace, and I knew when I called for help, I needed help. And I see that in the jail, and I see that with our deputies on the road, and I really, really don't want to be part of getting one of these people drastically hurt or killed. And I would
don't
feel
think
nice.
anyone does, Tony,
No.
but the point, it all comes down to money.
Yes, it does.
Where are we gonna get the money?
And if we don't find the money, that's shame on us. And the things that we haven't done, and I've heard people brag, we haven't raised taxes in this county forever. We haven't kept up what we needed to keep up, we have this huge potential in this county. And we are not using it because we haven't done, because and it's already been said to me, why do I spend too much time with the jail? And why, you won't get elected if you want taxes? I don't care if I don't get elected again. I want to fix the jail, I want to fix the COs, and I want to fix the inequities that this county has had for decades, and we all know that they're there. They've been there, we know they're there, and it's time for us to take a different kind of action that's been taken ever before. We need to do it, and we need to find the money, and we need to bring on, whether it's a sales tax, which is the most
It's the fairest.
The fair.
fairest.
It's the fairest.
I'll go with that. And when I talk to people out in the community, everybody says yes. Some people even say, hey, put a levy on. We have to fix it, and if it's not fixed now, unfortunately, it's the three of our faults. End.
And so, and again, I will remind you,
Mhm.
we don't only just fund the sheriff's department.
I do.
And if you think there's inequities there, yeah, haven't looked very far into the other counties.
There are, and we can
and it's
only
gonna
handle
be
one at a
permanent.
time. And the life and death is in this situation. The rest of it is we give the sheriff $1 million and the prosecutor wants more, the treasurer wants more. I get that.
Yeah.
And there has been no place that I've seen that has the inequities of the sheriff's department at all. And so we can only handle one of these at a time. And the most drastic and dire to me is the one that's sitting in front of us right now. Everybody else wants more because they want more. I'd like to have more patients. I'd like to make more. I would like the insurance companies to pay me more. All that happy hoo-ha. I could only do one at a time. And whether it's a court order or it's everybody else needs it, these guys have been saying since the day they got here, something's drastically wrong. Everybody else is doing reactionary to the sheriff's department. And stand in line, but we've got to fix one big one, and that is my concern, is the biggest one, the one that has been underfunded for a long, long period of time. And if I hear these guys, anybody said, Joe, if I ever hear you say, you need $15 million, I'm going to give you $12 million, and we'll see you can come back and ask for more money, I'll probably not be happy.
You need to have kept the 25% sales tax on.
Yes, and I asked that.
And move on.
I agree.
I mean, I can't believe our people don't have cameras. Look at the liabilities we have. Look at the lawsuits we
I
have.
agree, and Michelle said,
I've
hey,
said
she can
enough.
help with grants. So with that, and Janet, I totally, absolutely agree, until I went to the sheriff's presentation, and an older gentleman that was in Portage said, they said, 5 years and it's done. I have nothing to say because we did that. It has to come back. And
I was here when we built it, damn it.
I
And we
know.
brought it in under budget.
You were here before.
The second one
First
wasn't.
build it.
The second one didn't come in online.
No,
You didn't have the expertise even building this one.
I completely agree.
And now it's done and you're not using any of it.
I agree.
Get the damn federal prisoners here and charge them.
I agree. I'm glad we're agreeing on something.
You know, Tony, I appreciate where you're coming from.
Sorry, I get
but-
so excited, but you know, I've seen this run around for years.
I know.
Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah.
But, you know what, I mean, we run a law enforcement agency.
Mhm.
We are your law enforcement agency. We belong to this county.
Yep.
We're supporting the people in this county.
Yep.
We run an operation that runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Nobody goes home. And I can't tell you that, I mean, right now, coming in here, I felt bad coming in here because we've got 3 suicides going on out there where people are hiding someplace with a gun, gonna
Oh.
kill themselves. And we don't have people on the road to handle all those calls. We're bringing in, we're trying to find everybody and their brother. Thank God OSP had an airplane up looking for a missing person with us this morning. We're able to utilize that. But we've got a lot of things going on, and we don't have the staffing to deal with the problems that we have. Somebody is gonna get hurt, whether it's one of us or whether it's somebody else. But in all reality, we've got a responsibility to support the people in this county and make sure that they go home safe every day, they walk into a safe house. Every one of our people is gonna go home at the end of the day.
But they're
And-
only asking for actually 2 additional road deputies. They're asking for 4 people, 2 for JFS and 2 for the schools. That is not additional road deputies. You have to admit that.
They do admit that, but they also have duties. They can't take somebody off the road and put them with JFS, and they can't do that. Regardless of, they need
But I'm just saying,
bodies.
you're only asking for 2 additional road deputies, and yet you say you're so desperate for road deputies.
I would love to have 6 more road deputies, okay? But here again, you know, I got people at JFS, and if JFS is in the office and we have a critical incident, I can pull that person to help. I mean, we can jockey staff around to do things that we need to do. But ultimately, you know, my school resource officer, I can pull that school resource officer if I have a problem. But if I have an active shooter in that school, I don't have the people to put together to go handle that active shooter situation.
Speaking of additional people, Larry, what did you ever do with Alex from Solid Waste? Because he was funded with water resources.
Alex was,
Have you absorbed him into your budget now?
Alex was absorbed into our budget, and now he's on medical leave.
Okay.
He's on FMLA. You know, and people don't take into consideration the amount of people that get hurt and injured. And I don't know how many you got off.
6, no,
He-
5, 6.
He's got 5 or 6 people out of the jail
Medical leave.
staff that's out on
One's injured on
FMLA.
duty, couple, you know, it's a rough job.
Yeah.
Tear a shoulder, tear whatever, you're out till November, and it adds into some of the other things we see. It's-
Well, I guess what we need to do is have a plan, because we had a plan before.
Have we ever followed through with the plan?
Well, the commissioner board changed quite frequently, so.
If they haven't let me first.
We had a plan to renew this tax. We had a plan that the November before it fell off, the year before it fell off, we were gonna try to put it on to be consecutive with the current one. If it failed in November, we would go back at it in the spring. And then if it failed then the sheriff was gonna have to either make cuts, or he's gonna have to figure out how to absorb that. Because we didn't wanna wait like we didn't do anything. And I brought it up numerous times, and the president of the board at the time didn't wanna talk about it. But I brought it up numerous times, and so did our previous budget person, that, you know, we should have had that on there. And that's why we decided, Vicki and I both voted to fund those additional people for another year until we could figure out, either sheriff had to absorb that extra 700 and some thousand, or we have to decide to put the sales tax back on. Because there's no way the general fund can continually keep absorbing all of this. And so I guess what we need to do is maybe get with our new finance director and see what, because there was also talks that we wouldn't need maybe the full 1/4%, because now you can do 0.1%, but now that could change with,
If we don't do a quarter, then we're coming in, we need to be here, and if we come at a quarter, we might be there, and if we could go less than, we take it off, I think it's 10ths that you can take it off
Yeah.
now. If you could do that, we again put ourselves in the same situation in 2 or 3 years.
well, Tony, that's why I said we'll
Yep.
need to get with them, because now, we were talking, I think Vicki at the time, remember a 10th was gonna generate an extra 2 million, But now with the new sheriff and all the extra expenses in the more people required, we'll have to revisit that. And you're right, we're looking more at a 0.25% again.
Right, and
Not the 0.1%.
And I'm gonna stick up for the new sheriff. The guy took a job, and he is coming in to change this county, to bring it up to the standard that this county deserves. And by looking at the new sheriff or chief deputy or anybody else that's new that came on, there are incredible inequities that have been going on with this sheriff's department for a long time. This is the first time I've ever seen somebody coming in saying, these are the problems, this is how to fix it, help us fix it. We have the money at this time, and we'd have to sustain it, we have to get that 0.25%. But to tell these guys to wait another month, 6 months, or end of the year in November, to wait until January that we can get it, that is a disservice to the county, and it's a disservice to these guys for busting their butt trying to tell us what they actually need. You guys both been here 6 and 7 years. When did anybody ever come in and say, this is what we had? They always back down and put their tails between their legs and left. These guys aren't doing that. And I because of the silly time I spent in the Marine Corps, I cannot see this continue to happen. Sabrina, if we do that without signing that, the 3 of us sign for it, we wait for an election, it is January, February next year before we do this task. That's wrong. That is purely, absolutely wrong.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying, we have to consider the tax now going forward. I've already said, public record, we would have enough to fund this year and into next year, but after that, understand that carryover is one-time money. You better
completely
figure
agree.
out where we're gonna make it up.
Yep.
And how do you make it up? You either generate more revenue or you cut
A
costs.
sales tax. And they all know that. If we don't, and the chief deputy and the sheriff both sat here in those chairs and said, we will do everything we possibly can to help you get that passed. We will take the lead, we will do it. And that means we don't have to do it because they're fighting for themselves, they're fighting for their guys, and they're fighting for this community. So my vote is we get this done now and bust our ever-living bums to make sure we get that sales tax passed in November.
And you think that the sheriff's office needs an extra $3 to $5 million per year, which is what the 0.25%.
Actually, yes, I do, Barb. It's my problem is I think those guys for decades have been underfunded. Forever. And then all of a sudden you've got people that are there, you've got people all over the county agreeing with that and seeing that. We have underfunded the sheriff's office for a long period of time. And I say we because I was part of this community for 31 years. We have. And it's time to fix it.
But Tony, I have to say, I would disagree with that, because I can tell you, when I came into office in 2014, all I ever heard about was how Tommy Joe was an open checkbook for the sheriff's department. One year she gave an extra $500,000, the next year they gave an extra $750,000. So I mean, to say that they've been the redheaded stepchild and the only, I would disagree with that. To the extent they may not be funded to the extent they think they should be or they would like to be, but to say that we have done such a disservice to the sheriff's department and not funded their needs and stuff, I mean, we can only do so much. The sheriff is his own elected official. You know how many times I sent the grants, because I got them from CCAO or from state senators and stuff about the body cams? I mean, all I can do is send it. I can't force the hand
Agreed.
to apply for that stuff. DeWine has grant money out for it. I mean, that's what I'm saying. All we do is fund that budget. Once that money's there, we don't control anymore.
I completely agree. And I don't disagree anything you just said.
Yeah.
It is time to make a change in the way we do things. It's a time to make a change on the way we fund that. So we have a sales tax goes out through the whole county, and my city of Aurora pays a lot of that. But Brimfield is growing. All these other places, and everybody that comes into our county is gonna take part and start sharing for that to pay for these bills. The tax dollars that we do, because we haven't raised taxes for a long time, that is the way.
5 years ago, we just raised
Yeah,
them.
it just was raised.
I don't know, you're the one that told me we didn't raise it forever. Well, okay, you
What
raised
the
it.
hell are you talking about? You
Talking
know?
about the conversation, I know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know, that's so scary. Oh.
It is, isn't it? So that sales tax is a must that has to go on, and we cannot wait until the end of this year or the beginning of next year to get this process, that revenue coming in,
It's 5 years.
5 years away.
Taxes, the 1/4% to build the damn jail.
I know, so 5%, that
You
5
know,
more years.
That's not very long.
No, it's not.
You already got 1, and then it's 1 1/4.
Right.
It's bigger than anywhere around here.
It's.
So, you know, think about it, Tony.
I'm thinking about it a lot.
Okay,
And I'm thinking
so,
of it.
so to sum it up, we will start entertaining about looking what to do with the tax. Cause I agree, it's gonna be a 1/4% and see what all entails. You'll have to get probably with the auditor's office and probably the Department of Taxation, make sure we have the right codes and pass the right resolutions, cause we've been there, done that, right?
Yeah, you've been there. You've been there.
Yep. And
I've been there
so-
more than you.
And so, and see what we can do in the meantime. But in the meantime, I do know, we do, like I said, we have one-time funding, but we have a whole list of other things too that we need to take a look at. We've got a substantial, huge ask for just increases for the current staffing. Then we've got additional ask for a lot more additional staff. I've got $1 million roof at the Justice Center that needs done. Some things can wait, some things cannot. The more we put them off, the more it costs us. So again, Tony, that is what our job as the Board of Commissioners are. We
I
look
agree.
at the whole big picture,
I get that.
not so silos of one department, this department, that. That's why you heard me ask numerous times, the sheriff, prioritize what you feel you absolutely have to have now and stuff that can wait until, you
Take the
know,
roof off the
we
deal
start
now.
seeing, I mean, I think the sheriff and the chief deputy had wonderful proposals on ways to increase revenue, but show me the money. You need to start generating some of that revenue now. I saw a whole list of departments that they are thinking are potentials for the dispatch center, but they want 3 dispatchers. Maybe we give them 1 additional staff, and as they hire, bring on maybe 5 more. I mean, that's the way this needs to work, because at the end, like I said, the money that we have, that everyone thinks we have all this big money, it's one-time money. And it's money because we have been good stewards of money over the last 5 years. We have not accrued any new debt. And like I said, but it's one-time money. Once it's gone, it's gone. So we need to make sure that we are using it to the best use and interest for the citizens of the county and for all those involved. So,
You need to give them a list of what hourly rate is for starting people. Because there's people up here that are making more than them.
We've already seen their
And they're on the
hourly
road.
rates.
I
The
hope
sheriff's
so.
office has said we could take the roof off, $1 million roof this year. And they've actually requested, hey, you can take that off. I've heard that. And that would be more than half of the ask that we're doing.
but Tony,
I know.
this is where you being new, you don't realize.
Yep.
And,
But I do realize
and Janet
many
can
things.
tell, in the 90s, when things were slow, instead of laying people off and reducing staff, we just cut all capital improvements.
Yes.
And then we ended up costing us twice as much because we didn't do anything. There has to be a
And we didn't do anything for
balance.
last 3 years with capital improvements. Have we?
2 years.
What do you mean?
This
We
year's
paid
like-
8 million sewer and water. Cash.
And they
For
have
new
that. The water
biosolids.
department, I keep hearing, is a separate entity.
Yeah, we kept raising the price on our
and that
customers
is-
every year.
I got it. I got that.
Didn't
But
we?
that's what
We're
I'm
not
saying.
talking about apples and apples now.
But that's
No,
what
it's
I'm
all
saying.
that, it's all debt.
We'll sit down with the budget and finance, and then maybe we'll meet with the sheriff. And again, I'm looking for a priority list, something, what they're exactly they can do with this year before we get, you know, hopefully a tax passed, but prioritize what you feel needs to absolutely transpire sooner than
I
later.
think that's what they gave us.
I
think
mine
it
is
is
too,
too.
we already turned
That's
that
what they
in.
gave us,
We've already give you that.
yeah.
So you're saying, but I don't agree with that, because you're asking for 3 more dispatchers
Don't matter.
on the hopes that you get a bunch more people committed to the dispatch center.
You know what, we just took on Garrettsville last night.
Yeah.
And
I was
as
aware.
one falls, they're gonna continue to fall.
Manaway's the next
How
one.
many
And
more you got?
Manaway is gonna be next.
It's just
And then, I mean, this is gonna be
You
a
need to
domino
train these
effect.
people
Like I
before
say-
they-
And we've got
Yeah.
training to do for dispatchers. It's gonna take us 3 to 4 months to train a dispatcher to get them on job. Okay, and we're looking at things and ways that we can
Can
change
shift.
things around to do that.
Okay.
But here again, you know, that list that was given to you, okay, is not it's not over the top list. Okay, we're not telling you we want all this shit because, you know, we want everything in the world. We're giving you a bare minimum of what we need to get by, okay, and to survive. Okay, when we start putting dispatchers and we start taking on more and more fire departments, yeah, we're bringing in revenue. It's not gonna totally cover your budget, but it's gonna offset that budget. Okay, but we've gotta provide that service. And there are more and more people that wanna utilize the sheriff's office as a service than not. That's why they're leaving the places they're at. We've got fire departments that are contracting with agencies outside.
Yeah, Stark and Summit, I know.
So why are we paying them? Why is county money going to pay somebody another county away to do a job that we can do here and revenue we can bring here? We don't want the world. We just want to survive. We want to protect our people, we want to protect the inmates in the jail, and we want to protect the citizens of this county. And in the list of things that we need, that is a bare minimum.
That's the bare minimum.
That
Okay.
was a bare minimum.
And that's fair. But again, that was not the way it's presented. This is like what we want. I didn't know it was, this is the minimum and there's more to come, because that's a
You
pretty
know what,
big ask.
Chief Scolari mentioned a number of times that he would like to have 12 deputies on the road. But this is a minimum of what we can get by with. What was asked for was the minimum. And we're not reaching for the sky. Okay, we're not reaching for salaries that the city of Aurora is making. You know, we're asking to maybe a step above, you know, Ravenna Police Department, and we are the bottom of the barrel. And as I'm sitting there talking to a deputy this morning, says, you know, they're gonna come in next week, Aurora's coming in next week to go my personnel file, because I think I'm gonna go to Aurora to go to work. And I said, really? So now we gotta bring in another deputy to replace him, we gotta go through all kinds of training, we've gotta spend all this time, energy, and money and effort to train a new guy to do the job. You know, we're spinning our wheels and not getting anywhere, because we can't go anywhere.
But Mr. Limmer, I think you would agree, it's not like he fills out an application in Aurora and he goes the next day. There's a very long, lengthy process.
He's already been through his polygraph, he's already been through his background check, he's already been through his interview. The only thing they gotta do is go through his personnel file, and he is gone.
But what it sounded like to me, what Sabrina was saying was, first they came in with a request for a lot of new vehicles, like 13 or 14 new vehicles. Then they came in with a request for more
Yeah.
personnel. Then are you gonna come in with another big $3 million request, and then another big $3 million request that you say, well, we need these too, these are the absolute minimums we need. And yet, she's asking, what's the priority? Is it personnel, is it vehicles, or is it 3 or 4 other things that you're going to be asking
And
for
you
the
know,
rest of
Barb,
the
that
year?
brings up a good point, Larry, and I forgot to ask this. So you're talking about bringing all these additional people on, like, for road patrol, let's say 6. So I did not hear a request for 6 additional cars.
Well,
So
I
where's
think-
that at?
I think the chief had mentioned and talked about a take-home program to put cars out there to everybody to have cars. We're not even looking at that, we're not even entertaining that anymore, because we're not gonna be able to do that, putting additional people on the road.
Well, that's news to us, so you're
Okay.
telling us
So-
something.
so-
Sometimes we don't feel like we get all the information, or sometimes we get information today, and by tomorrow it changes, but yet that doesn't get relayed to us. So I think,
I think that's a two-way street.
That was a wish list of that take-home program.
It was.
And Barb, they have not given us a wish list, not at all. They've given us a we need list. And there's a big difference between wish list.
But what I'm
and need
saying
list.
is, are we need list for A, are we need list for B, are we need list for C, D, E, and F? And which ones of those are priorities? And it sounds like the additional personnel is a priority. I can see that.
Mhm.
And they specifically asked for take-home vehicles for everybody, and the board approved it.
We
And now you're
no,
saying they
no, no,
didn't
no,
spend
no,
that?
we did not.
Yes, we did,
We talked-
12 cars. What are
No,
you
no,
talking
that was
about?
not a take-home program that we
Yes,
approved.
it was.
Yes,
It was not, they
No, it
needed,
was
they
not.
needed vehicles, they had, that was a wish list that Chief Spitaleri wanted to do.
Why did we need 12 cars when we were already on a rotation replacement plan of 5 to 6 cars, and this year they got 8 because they got the car back from solid waste. One was in an accident, and I forget, and then the sheriff bought his new
You're
truck.
on your own, Christine.
So, I mean,
Sheriff's new
yeah.
truck was supposed to be bought, and he just picked a different vehicle. So, and he did not go through the exact process.
Well, I'm glad
that he
you knew
should.
about it, cause I
We
never
all
knew
heard
that.
about it. We've heard about it in retrospect. I didn't know about it until it was after done. We have, and the cars that they needed, somebody that was running the car program should have never been running it, and they didn't have any input on the cars. They were told what they were gonna get. And I disagreed with that, and I hope eventually somebody takes care of it, and I hope it's not Joe.
Oh, it's not gonna be Joe.
It's not gonna be Dave Lair.
No, it's not gonna be Dave.
No,
Joe's gonna be
wants
doing
out of
budget,
here.
and I'm gonna be riding my bicycle.
There you go.
Yeah.
Dave wants
With
out
his
of here.
basket. Okay. I don't have anything
Anything
else.
Anybody else?
Nope.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for coming in today.
Gentlemen, don't leave, please.
Ron,
I have questions about it. Mostly from titles.
all right. Is there anything else to come before the board? Did I hear we have something else?
I don't think we did.
Is there anything else I need?
I don't think so.
Did someone say we needed to? Michelle, did you have anything or? No?
No more seconds?
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I have a motion to adjourn the commissioners meeting.
Second.
Roll call?
Tony?
Yes.
Yes.
Sabrina?
Yes.
Yes. I will drop the check off for you.
Okay.
I didn't know you had those.
Yeah.
Cool.
To replace, every now and then you'll get a citizen call and complaint
It's raggedy, yep.
that, no, at one of our buildings.
Well, and they
Yeah.
should.